Everything is cringe until it isn't. Guys, I just got caught out here in the rain. I was playing basketball, it started pouring out of nowhere, and it's absolutely coming down. But I was thinking about this recently. Every time I make a different style of YouTube video, every person comments on my video and says, "This is whack. Where's the other content that you were doing before?" When I first started off doing YouTube, I was talking a lot about Japan, mainly about Japan stuff. And then if I ever wanted to do anything different, if I ever wanted to say, "Hey guys, this is what I do for fitness, this is what my gym looks like, this is my day in the life," everybody was like, "Man, we want to hear about Japan, we don't want to hear about this shit." And then, you know, then I go back to talking about Japan, and I post a few videos talking about Japan, and then everyone's saying, "Come on, man, where are the fitness videos? Where are the day in the life videos, the out the mud vlogs?" And then I say, shit, you know what, maybe I just want to rant about girls, or maybe I want to rant about testosterone, manliness, manosphere, red pill, bullshit talk. And then everybody goes, "Man, that's so cringe, bro. Nobody wants to hear about that. Nobody wants dating advice from this guy. We want to hear about Japan, dude. We want to hear about the gym. We want to hear about your day in the life. We want to hear about how you study Japanese." And then I say, you know what, shit, maybe I'll stop doing the girl talks or whatever, and I'll go to storytelling. And then everybody says, "Man, we don't want to hear this storytelling. We want to hear like more shit, like stories about dating women in Japan. We want to hear about dating. We want to hear dating advice, experience, tips, whatever." And then I go to telling stories, and then I start telling stories all the time, and then people are saying, "Man, we need more of these stories." And it's led me to believe that everything that you do is cringe until it works, and until it's not cringe anymore. If you think about it, if you think about silly, dumb fashion trends, think about like someone who leads the world in, I guess, fashion trends or trends, whatever, maybe Kanye, for example. Everything that he does is so obnoxious and so silly. At first, everyone's like, "Man, this is so stupid," and then everybody starts copying it. Think about if you were that person to go out and, what's like some of the stupid fashion that he has worn, some like type of mask over his face or whatever it be. If you were to do that, you're just a simple nobody. Everybody say, "Man, this dude's so cringy, this guy's so dorky, this guy's lame." It's not cool because really just you're not cool. It really doesn't matter what you're actually doing, it just matters who you are. And you actually have to stick with it until the point where it is cool, to where people will start saying, "Yeah, man, that was cool." Kanye can do the exact same thing that you are doing. When you do it, somebody will say it's cringe. When Kanye does it, people will say it's cool. Then people will start saying it's cool also when you do it. You just kind of have to stick with it, continue on that train until it starts working for yourself, and then people will somehow get this short-term memory loss where they're like, "Oh, I don't remember that being cringe. It was always cool to me." And that's just kind of how it goes, guys. It's really funny how you go through life and you do thing over and over and over again. Maybe you want to do something different. Maybe you want to be your own person. Maybe you want to start a trend. Nobody hardly ever is going to say, "That's fire, I love that, that's so cool and innovative and different," immediately, except for maybe your mom, your grandma, your family, your immediate friends. But if you want to actually make it a trend, if you want to stay on it, if you want to continue, you have to stick with it. People are always going to say it's cringy, it sucks, stop doing that at first, and then eventually it's going to start working. It's kind of the funny way that things work out. People always say, "Well, that was never cringe, I always supported you since the beginning." So whenever you start a new journey, a new venture, people are always going to tell you, "Man, that's cringe, stop doing that, man. That's lame." Until eventually, if you stick with it, it's going to work out, and then people are always going to say, "Wow, that was so cool, I supported you the whole time." And they're full of shit, but whatever, we don't need to be petty and hate on those people anyways. But think of it like this: if you want to do something, whether it be moving to Japan, whether it be learning Japanese, trying a new fashion trend, starting a band, maybe going back to school and you're older, you're not exactly college age, maybe you're like me, you're 29 and you want to go to school, people are always going to say right off the bat, "That's lame, that's cringe, don't do that." You can't do that, man. It's not going to work out for you. And if you stop every time people say that, which is going to be pretty much every time, you're never going to conquer your fears, you're never going to get anywhere, you're never going to grow as a person. If you think, "I'm not going to do things that people say are cringe, I'm not going to do things that people don't approve of," guess what? You're probably not ever going to do anything different, ever. People are always going to say that new thing is cringe. People are always going to say, "This thing that you want to try out, I don't support that, that's lame, that's dorky. Well, this other person might be able to do it, but you can't do it." So think about it like that. It's never going to be easy at the beginning. When I said I was going to move to Japan, so many people were like, dude, what the, like, you don't know what you're talking about, man. You're gonna go out there, you're gonna lose a bunch of money, you're gonna come back whimpering, back to America, back to square one with no money, realizing that you wasted a bunch of time and you just fucked around for a little bit. That obviously goes without saying didn't happen. When I started music in college or in high school, I was always a sports guy in high school, and then I quit my baseball team. I was like basically like the lead pitcher as I think it was a senior I was. And I quit. I was like, dude, I want to do music. I want to try out being in a band. I've always thought I wanted to try being in a band. And everyone was like, man, that's so cringe. Like, you're the pitcher. You're not a music guy. You've never been a music guy. You're a baseball guy. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to try it. Nobody supported me at first. Eventually, did it. Toured across different areas of the States. Sold some merch. Had a relatively successful band on a small scale. Eventually, I realized it wasn't what I wanted to do long term, but I more or less lived out my dream in a small sense there. Everything that I can think of that I've done that has been different, people have said that's cringe, don't do that, that sucks. Person A, B, or C can do it, but you can't do it. I think that holds back a lot of people from living truly fulfilling lives. And it's really sad because I've always lived my life in the sense that I would much rather be on my deathbed thinking that I took a lot of chances that maybe didn't work out, but I tried my best. I left it all on the court, as they would say if you're playing basketball or a sport. And be on my deathbed thinking, I wish I would have tried this. Who knows what would have happened if I went to Japan? Who knows what would have happened if I would have pursued music? Who knows what would have happened if I would have tried to chase my dreams like so many people also didn't do around me? And then they live the rest of their life after they're 50, 60, retired, whatever it be, talking about how they wish they would have tried this, they wish they would have tried that. There's always going to be more money to be made. There are always going to be people laughing at you. There are always going to be doubters, haters, people saying, no, don't do this, don't do that. If you guys live your life in fear of haters, doubters, people disapproving of you, you're not actually going to accomplish anything different in your life. And hey, maybe that's fine. Maybe you want to do what everyone else does, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think that's great. Honestly, I'm quite envious of you. I wish I could be that person who is satisfied just doing the norm, having a 9-to-5 job, working in an office, living in the suburbs, living where my family has lived for my whole life. But that's simply just not me. And if you want to do something different, it's not an easy path, but it is a fulfilling, glorious path once you take that step, once you realize fear cannot hold you back in your life. Everything is cringe until it isn't, guys. You're gonna be cringe. When I started talking about girls, when I started talking about dating, how to get girls, how to meet girls, people said I was so cringe. I even thought for myself that I was cringe for wanting to learn shit like that. And guess what? It wasn't so cringe when it actually paid off in the real world and I saw all types of results. So people are always gonna call you cringe, guys. You don't want to live like that. You don't want to live in fear of what other losers are going to be saying about you because they're too afraid to do it themselves. This is Young James. It's pouring rain. I'm going to try to run home right now, and then I'm going to work. Guys, I'm going back to Japan next week. So stoked. Can't wait. If you guys want to buy an Ultra Human ring, check out the description, guys. Link in the description. 10% off. Donate to my Ko-fi. Whatever. Check out the description. All right. Peace out, y'all.